Welcome to the Beyond the Ribbon podcast, where we are creating an empowering and supportive community for women navigating the journey of breast cancer. My name is Lindley Harris.
And I'm Amy Smith,
your fellow survivors and thrivers. Whether you are currently facing a diagnosis, undergoing treatment, or adjusting to life after cancer, this podcast is for you.
Our mission is to provide raw, unfiltered insights and practical information to help you through every step of your cancer journey. We want you to know that you are not alone. We will journey together and we will heal together. Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Ribbon podcast. I'm Amy and this is Lindley, and today we have a special guest, Miss Beth.
Yay, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So happy.
Yeah.
So we're excited to learn about your story and how everything happened for you with breast cancer. We would love to just hear more about you and kind of tell your story.
Oh, well, it's a story, so here we go. So, to begin with, I was a marine biologist.
Okay.
Still am a marine biologist, but I was working on boats in Alaska. I had started that job in 2011, basically a glorified fish counter. So we would go out on the fishing boats, and my job was to identify, count, and weigh the fish, basically for sustainability purposes.
Wow.
And I say all that to say, when I found my lump, I was on a boat in the middle of the Bering Sea. So,
Oh my goodness.
I can't imagine what you would have been thinking at that point in time.
I wasn't worried. I found the lump, and I had decided we are at the point, I'm old enough, I should probably start doing breast checks, but I had no idea what that looked like. Like, none of us do, right? None of us are actually trained, like, this is what a lump feels like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling for, but this is adulting, and here we go. And
I love that. I love that.
So
That is
real.
the most true statement.
And so I'm like, I think my breasts are dense, but like, that's again one of those things we hear, but we don't know what it means. We don't know what dense breasts feel like.
Yeah.
But I'm like, everything's lumpy, so like, whatever. So I was doing this for a couple months, just kind of going through the motions, and then there was one point in the shower, and I remember feeling a lump and thinking, that one's different. Like, it's kind of off on its own, it's off to the side, it's not kind of tucked in close to the chest like the other lumps are.
Okay.
But I wasn't concerned. I'm like, I'm on my period, I drink coffee, and we're always told, like, this can lead to cysts in the breast. So it's like, it's fine. It'll be fine. And so didn't mention it to anybody and just kind of went about the day, because by golly, I was having fun and I didn't want to be taken off the boat for a cyst. I was in the middle of like small town Alaska. So, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
How long did you stay on the boat knowing that you had this possible cyst?
So I found it in mid-July, I think like July 17th or something in that area, and then disembarked the boat August 31st.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a long time to sit with that.
Yeah.
It was, but I wasn't scared.
Right.
Which, for better or worse,
Yeah.
I wasn't scared in that moment.
Okay.
So, got home. I had a doctor appointment scheduled with my PCP the middle of September. It had already been scheduled. It was a new patient appointment because she moved offices, and I was irritated because I was like, I have things to do. Like, I don't have much time at home, and here I have this new patient appointment when I'm not a new patient, and I don't want to deal with it. But I was like, well, I'm here. I only see you once a year. Hey, FYI, I found this lump. It's not going away.
Yeah.
Even though I have now like ended my period, started another period, ended. It's still there. So maybe we should, just letting you know.
Yeah.
Wasn't asking for a mammogram, just wanted to give her a heads up. And so she felt it and she was like, yeah, it's probably a cyst, but just in case, we'll get you scheduled for a mammogram. And so I go in for the mammogram, and of course, it's all the older women who are there for their routine mammograms.
Oh gosh, I
Right.
resonate with that. I was the youngest person, and everybody looked at me like, what is she doing here?
How old were you?
So I get that.
I was 32.
32, right. So, I mean, and they don't start till 40, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
So there was another gal, we're sitting in our robes and waiting to be called back, and she was a colon cancer survivor. And so she's talking to me, and the couple women who addressed me were like, you're really young to be here. I'm like, it's fine, it's just a cyst. We're just double checking.
We're just
it's
extra.
Fine. And go back, do the mammogram, everything was fine. And then, you know, go out, you wait again, do the ultrasound.
Yes.
And I remember laying there and she kept going over the same part over and over again. And you hear the clicking as she's taking pictures and she's doing her thing. And I'm like, is it normal for it to look like that? Because like she's not saying anything to me.
Yes, they don't. They're just like so straight faced. I feel like they're trained to be that way.
Probably, but
Yeah.
that doesn't help when
No.
you're like
Oh,
laying there.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't even scared, and I still wanted her to talk to me. And so I'm like, is it supposed to look like that, or is that normal? And she's like, sometimes. And then just
Yep. Oh my gosh, I can so resonate with this. This is exactly what happened to me.
and I'm thinking, say something.
Yeah,
like,
anything, small talk,
right.
whatever.
Right, even if it's bad, like tell me now.
Mm-hmm.
And later my mom was like, no, they're not allowed. Like that's the radiologist.
Yes.
point.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well this isn't really helping me though. But so that took a little bit, and then I had to go out and wait a while. And they said, the radiologist will call you back when he's ready. Cool. Call me back into a little room, and I hadn't done a mammogram before. I don't know if this is normal or not. I'm like, surely they're just going to tell you go on your way.
Right.
They call me into the little office, and it's the radiologist and a student, and then a woman who introduced herself as the nurse navigator. My entire team was fantastic, except this radiologist dude. He had no bedside manner. And so I walk in, I sit down, and he's like, all right, so it's cancer, so we're going to need to get you in for a biopsy.
Oh.
We had the same guy. Because I know we went to the same hospital for it. Because I had the same nurse navigator and the same guy. Because it was...
Yeah. Which having worked on the Bering Sea, I am all about it being blunt.
Yeah.
Like, just give it to me straight. But not in that moment. That you kind of got to ease into a little bit.
Yes.
And so I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, hold up. Are you sure it's cancer? Like, I thought I was coming in for a cyst. And he's like, no, it's cancer. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you used the wrong C word. Like, it was cyst, not cancer.
Right.
So then he and the nurse navigator are going back and forth because he's like, we'll need to get you in for a biopsy. But we probably won't be able to do it today. She's saying, no, I'm sure we can. So they're going back and forth, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, this was not how this was supposed to go.
Exactly.
Like, because now what happens? And how do you react to that?
Yeah.
So they were able to get me in for a biopsy that afternoon, but then I was going to have to go home, come back. And it's like, what do you do with this time? Like, because now he's saying it's cancer, and it's like, okay, but I want to know from somebody else that it's cancer. I want like definitive numbers. And so I remember calling my mom. She worked downtown, and I wanted to discuss it with her, and she was busy. She wasn't able to meet up with me. But in hindsight, that was a good thing, because it was like, you don't need to drop this bombshell on her while she's at work. And so I remember like listening to the Christian radio station on the way home, and like I would cry, and then it was like, okay, pull yourself together. And then I would cry, and okay, this will be fine. And it was especially difficult because my aunt had just died of pancreatic cancer. So she died we had buried her 3 days before this had all happened.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
And that was like a whole 4-year ordeal of her being in treatment and moving up to Ohio, and we would help take care of her. And we just finished grieving her, and then now I'm hearing this. So go to the biopsy appointment, and the doctor had much better bedside manner. And
Gosh, I feel like that's all. Like, that is really not too much to ask for,
right,
in this situation. My goodness.
And he was fantastic. And I said, okay, what are the odds it's not cancer? Like, can we confidently go home and tell my family, even without the biopsy results, that this is cancer, or do I need to wait for the biopsy? And he's like, no, this is a textbook image of cancer. I'm like, all right, good to know.
Okay.
So yeah, went home that evening. We had a funeral to go to.
Oh gosh.
No.
Could you? Anything else? Please. I feel so sorry that you had to go through all that.
But
gosh,
I feel like, everybody has their own struggle. Like, you both had kids while you were dealing with this. So it's like, I didn't have children. I didn't have a lot of that struggle that a lot of survivors do. But, there was a lot going on right when I was diagnosed. Yeah. So that evening, you know, my mom's sister and I went to the funeral, and then my sister had come over. I live with my parents because I'm gone so much for work. And so sister had come over to help take care of something, and so she and dad were in the back room dealing with something, and so I'm waiting for everybody to be in the room together without being like, stop what you're doing, I need you here now.
Yeah.
So my sister's like, all right, getting ready to go, and I'm like, well, hold on a second, like, have a seat.
Yeah, like, I need to tell you something.
And trying to not show that it's negative, but at the same time, it's like, you're gonna find out this is negative, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, so I have breast cancer. And like, just the silence in the room and the looking at me and like, we just finished dealing with cancer treatment. Like, what do you, and explaining to them like, this is how the appointment went. And so thankfully it wasn't, nobody, like, you know, they started crying, but it wasn't like breaking down in tears. It was like, all right, what's the plan? What do we do now?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm thankful that I had that support.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, so that was my unofficial diagnosis day. And then that was a Tuesday. And then on Friday, then went in for the biopsy results. And so I had a couple days to prepare, like, all right, we're gonna get a plan. We're gonna attack this. This is gonna be great.
Yes.
Left from another friend's funeral to go to the appointment to get the official diagnosis. And that was rough as well.
Yeah.
So,
oh goodness.
Yeah.
how we say everything comes in threes, and there were a whole lot of funerals going on, plus a whole lot of cancer.
A lot of testing
Yes.
yourself in this moment.
Right.
I
And
mean,
how do you
oh my
prepare
goodness.
yourself? You know, like when you're going from funeral to funeral, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get myself prepared for this. How, you know?
Yeah.
I'm glad that you tried, but that's, you know.
I think because I had, you know, Tuesday was the day that I had the mammogram, told the family. Wednesday, I told my boyfriend. Thursday, I told my best friends. And so by then it was like, all right, we've already had some time to kind of process this. So now when you're going for this friend's funeral on Friday, that's about him. That's about his moment.
Yes.
And then when you leave, now it can be about you. And what do we do now? And I had my sister with me for that appointment to help, you know, take notes and so and be that support. So by then I was pumped. It was all right, we're gonna attack it. What do we do?
So you've gone to your biopsy and you had your sister with you. Did they tell you at that point what the plan was going to be, or did you have to wait till you got like your biopsy results and then to meet again?
Yeah, so biopsy was on Tuesday, the day of the mammogram, and then biopsy results were on Friday.
Sorry, that's what it was. Yeah, biopsy results. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he said, okay, so it's triple negative. And I'm like, usually a negative in the test is a really good thing. So I was excited. I was like,
yeah, because you don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, awesome, I'm triple, I did good. And he was like, not necessarily. Like, in this case, it's not the best thing. And so he kind of goes into what triple negative means and how it's more, you know, aggressive, more difficult to treat. And I'm like, okay, we'll do what we can.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, I wasn't given a whole lot at that point. It was kind of just an overview of this is triple negative and this is what we're going to need. But it was still a lot of, okay, now we have the, you know, the body scans that we need to do, and that's going to then determine what we do as far as chemo and surgery and that sort of, and you know, where exactly the cancer is. So yeah. Okay.
So then, did they decide, or did they throw around the idea? Was it always chemo before surgery, or?
No, they never gave me the option, and I didn't know any better. It's just this is the plan.
Right.
So I did surgery first,
Okay.
then chemo and radiation.
Okay.
Which is fine. I learned afterwards, of course, that there are benefits to doing chemo first to see if you've got the, you know, the full result.
Response,
Complete response. So it's kind of a bummer not knowing if that happened, but at the same time, there's also some peace of mind of you've got surgery, you like get it out.
Yeah. No, it was a sense of control for me because that's what I thought initially.
Yes.
Like, I just need to do, you know, whatever I feel like I can rid this. You know?
Yeah.
So did you do, what was your first surgery? What did you opt for?
So that was October 5th, and then October 17th, then I had a single mastectomy.
Okay.
Because it turns out I had 6 tumors. So at first we were just talking lumpectomy, that part, and then we did scans and found out, no, there's 6 tumors totaling about 12 centimeters. And so there's no way that we can work around it all. And it was like, oh, well, no wonder that was my favorite boob. Like, she felt more firm and fuller and everything. It's just because she was full of cancer. So, yeah, I had to do the single mastectomy. And my niece's first birthday party was October 20th, so 3 days later. And so my sister's like, hey, can you take the pictures? I'm like, yeah, sure. I had one of those like $20 llama outfits from Walmart because it was comfortable and easy to get into after surgery. Doped up on Percocet, like, I'll take pictures.
That's awesome.
That's so
I would
funny.
love to see how this turned out, by the way.
We're going to need you to dig up those pictures.
It actually turned out well. But
That's awesome.
That's funny. So, okay, so you had the single mastectomy, and as soon as you were done with the surgery, you went straight into chemo, like a couple weeks later, I'm assuming, or how long after?
Yeah, it was, so I had my port placement November 12th.
Okay.
And they were going to start me on chemo the following week. My port did not heal well.
Oh.
Like, all my other surgeries healed fine, but the port placement, that area has never healed well.
Okay.
Even when during a revision they try to fix it and make it prettier, it doesn't do well. So it hurt so bad.
Oh.
And so
Just resting, or when they tried to use it?
no, they hadn't even gotten there yet. And I was like, we need to wait another week before we do chemo. And they said, some people have a port placement and then do chemo that day. And I'm like, yeah, cool, that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, it's raw, it's not healing, let's wait.
And they didn't want to do just the IV chemo?
They had asked me if I wanted a port.
Okay.
And at first, knowing what my aunt went through with pancreatic, and she had to do a whole song and dance to get her port accessed. And I was like, I don't want to deal with it. And my mom said, I know you don't, but you're going to want a port.
Yeah.
It was the best thing. I'm
Yeah,
so glad.
it was. I'm so thankful that I.
Oh, yes.
I was so upset when they took it out. It was like, this is so much easier than an IV.
Yeah,
Like, can I just keep this for life?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the every 3 weeks having to get an access thing.
To flush it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you had every 3 weeks? I think
Well,
it was 6.
Yeah, it's like I think they try to do it once a month or every so often, But for us, our treatments were every 3 weeks. That's what I
Okay, yeah. So, waited 2 weeks. So I started chemo right after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Which was nice, because then it was like my last holiday to eat.
Yeah.
And
You could
not
definitely
feel
enjoy
crappy.
it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that
How
you were able
was-
to do that.
Yeah, and how was your chemo set up? Did you have a certain set number, and how did you handle, I guess, like side effect wise too?
So
we all have that thought.
So I had 8 total treatments.
Okay.
So I had 4 rounds of dose-dense adriamycin cytoxin and 4 of dose-dense Taxol.
Okay.
We started off with the adriamycin, and that was rough.
Is that what they refer to as red
The
devil?
Red Devil.
Yes.
That is the Red Devil.
Yes. Did you guys have Red Devil?
No.
No.
Okay.
No. But there's a lot of things that come with that, because my mom had tried to read stuff that she thought would help me. And isn't it like if you have a candy or a popsicle during that, because does it produce a taste in your mouth when you receive it, or am I somewhere close
No,
to
I think I've heard this. I just don't know if is it
For
the same
everybody?
one? Did you have that?
The saline, when they flushed it, that would produce it.
Oh yeah, I did
It
not
tastes-
like that. I remember that. It was
I
like a
smell
metallic
alcohol
taste.
pad
Yeah.
still, and I'm like, whew,
Yes.
that takes me
Yes.
back.
Yeah. And as a biologist, using alcohol all the time, and so now when I smell alcohol, it's like, whew.
PTSD.
Yes, it brings me right back.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you did your Red Devil, was there any kind of side effect thing?
Oh,
that was-
yes.
Yeah.
And yet, I'm sitting there, and again, I'm pumped. Like, I had gotten some gifts from friends. Like, I got these Wonder Woman socks from a friend who was going through adrenal cancer. So, like, shirts, like, just happy things. So I was wearing all this to treatment, and it was like, we're gonna do well.
Yeah.
And then she's gearing up in like a hazmat suit.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it's like,
Isn't that crazy?
oh, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna pump this straight into your veins. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
Let's do this. Yeah.
And she's like, and you're probably gonna pee red for the next couple days, which threw me off every single time.
Right.
Just the afterwards. Like, I remember in one of your episodes you were talking about, not using the same toilet as
Yes.
as family, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's so bizarre that it's
Right.
like, this is poison. This is so dangerous to somebody who doesn't have cancer, but this is our best shot at surviving.
It is so crazy that that's how it works. Yes. It's sad, honestly.
It really is. Because then it's like, I don't know what the long-term effects of this are going to be. I know it's hard on your heart, but you don't really know, you don't have a choice. Like,
yeah, you don't.
So, yeah. That evening, I felt fine. I went home, I ate dinner. I think I took Zofran.
Zofran,
Yeah. Zofran before bed. And it hit that night. Like, I went to bed, I started feeling nauseous, so I was like, all right, we're going to go to bed. And I puked 5 times in 7 hours. And it was such a hard night. And they had told me, we're going to give you steroids, and so you'll probably feel fine for 3 days while you've got the steroids, and then you'll feel like crap.
Yep.
And I thought, this is the night of, and I feel awful.
Oh no. And
I think it was the most pitiful moment of my life was the next morning, sitting on the couch talking to Mom, and I said, they said I would have 3 days before I'd feel like crap. And I feel like this now. How am I going to be on day 3?
Right.
And it was just this, like, I worked on the Bering Sea and I get motion sickness. Like, I was a professional puker. I knew how to deal with being sick.
Yeah.
And I felt awful. Like, it's a completely different sort of nausea.
Yeah, it is definitely not like being stomach sick. Like, it is so different.
Yeah, which
so different.
I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
Did that last long? Like, where were you at on day 3?
It started getting better.
Okay.
It was always like right after treatment was the worst, and then it would kind of ease up. And the further I got into treatment, the longer it would last. Like, I figured out, like, we got to go to bed right away once I get home from treatment. And so then I wasn't vomiting anymore, but it was just, there was a feeling of just, I felt cruddy was the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
That it was like, I'm not necessarily gonna vomit right now, but I don't feel well, but I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, my body's not happy with me.
Yeah.
And so that would last longer and longer. I think after the first treatment, it lasted like 5 days, but then by the 4th Red Devil, it was like, no, your entire 2 weeks between treatments, you don't feel good.
Yeah.
But then Taxol was like, it was so easy comparatively. And I know for some people, like, Red Devil's worse, for some people Taxol's worse, but for me, Red Devil was definitely worse.
Okay.
And then Taxol, like, the bone pain was bad. And I have restless legs anyway, so like that combined, it was uncomfortable, but I wasn't nauseated. It was, a couple days of that, and then I was okay.
I forgot about the bone pain until you just said that. Honestly,
I
didn't
bring
even.
that
No, I think it's so interesting that you don't remember all the little things that bothered you. I do remember feeling like, and it was my legs. It was like my femur bone, and then just my lower legs, feeling like it was just like achy all the time.
Yeah.
Even the medicine that they give you to help with it, nothing ever took it away. It was just like constant, like that dull, annoying, like pain.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that was every time I had treatment.
Yeah, I found that taking 4 Advil would take the edge off. It's like, okay, but you cannot take 4 Advil like multiple times a day.
Probably shouldn't do that.
And so, of all things, I found an essential oil blend that was for pain. And so that also would take the edge off.
Okay.
And that at least I could apply like 2 or 3 times a day and not feel bad about it.
Yes.
So nothing took it away completely, but it's like, okay, well, 4 Advil versus essential oils, like,
yes.
we're gonna go that way.
Definitely. No, that's great. That's so great that you found something. I can't even imagine I don't even know what I did during that point in time. I know I was trying to take the cocktail to give you, like, here, take this for that, but when it doesn't work, I don't even know if I took anything or just dealt with it. I don't remember that.
And I think that's one thing that's really difficult is you don't have a whole lot of time to figure it out. I had 4 Red Devils, and Zofran, I found out, gives me migraines. So it's like, well, now I'm nauseated because the migraine that Zofran just gave me.
Yes.
So I had taken an Ativan that night. That didn't do anything. And so then found out, okay, Fen are going to work. Like, but again, you don't have much time to experiment. And then with the bone pain from the Taxol, and then they tell you with the Neulasta to take like an allergy pill. And apparently there's like a specific time that you're supposed to take it. Like, and I never figured that out. It was like, okay, we're going to take Claritin like a couple hours before the Neulasta goes off. And it wasn't doing anything.
Oh, gosh,
and somebody was like, no, you have to take it like a couple days before and lead up to it. I'm like, but they don't tell you this.
I don't know if I ever was told that.
No.
That's
Really?
interesting.
Okay, I have to pause for a second because my nose feels like it's running. I'm so sorry.
You gotta do like duck face.
Yeah, make all sorts of faces.
And at least if it's a time lapse, it's fast.
Yes, yes. And I actually like thoroughly enjoy the little like blurbs. I think they're hilarious.
I could have a really good blooper reel.
Yeah, bloopers.
Oh my gosh, that was bothering me so much. I couldn't. I was like, I gotta touch my nose. I gotta touch my nose.
You're totally fine.
Okay, so then, do you want to continue about Neulasta and Claritin?
Okay, yeah. Wherever we want to start.
Or you can start and kind of go into like, okay, so after I finished my chemo, did you could talk about what was next from that if you did infusions.
You went through, did you do Herceptin?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you went into radiation, like, I'm assuming 6 weeks-ish after treatment?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I had radiation. I had to go in every day for 5 weeks. So 25 rounds.
That's what you had, right? It was 25 rounds.
25, yeah.
Okay. And that was fine. That was also a breeze until it was like the last week or so. And then it was like, okay, we can't wear a bra anymore. Like, I don't want anything touching it. And had this whole skincare routine that took like 45 minutes to apply all these different layers of oils and everything.
Did you lean on essential oils for that primarily, or what did you find?
Yeah. So I had wanted to like dabble in essential oils, but I was like, I'm not home often enough. I'm on a boat. I can't take them with me.
Oh yeah.
But then with cancer, then it was like, hey, now we've got some use for it. So I put on calendula oil and then coconut oil that had lavender essential oil in it and aloe, and then gave it time in between each layer.
Yes. I was assuming that's why it took so long. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta let it all absorb and set. Yeah.
And the coconut oil actually like removed some of my markings from the stickers from radiation. So I really struggled with that because then they were like, you ruined the stickers. Now we have to like put you back in for a CT, map it out again. And they said, if you want, we can do tattoos. And I'm like, yes. Like, why did you not give me this option?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because you had the tattoos. I know I was going to get them, and then I ended up in the trial. But there was never a sticker or anything that they offered, which was fine because the tattoo was perfectly fine.
Oh, I had stickers even with the tattoos. Then I still had like this whole, step ladder thing going down my sternum. So I still had stickers everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
But it was at least like 7 fewer stickers because
and I mean, you could have not used things on your skin at that point. You
needed it.
And there's some other products that friends that I found out later like work just as well, and it's just one product and it's not as oily. It's not gonna remove the stickers, but again, you don't know those until later.
And that's such a hard process, anyways, especially if you're living at your parents because you're out to sea so much. Oh, let it get some air. I'm like, do you want me to walk around topless? Like, how, buy me like a tent blouse or something so nothing's touching me. We're getting the air it needs and this, that, and the other. But that's just crazy. So you didn't have like how would you have rated your skin reaction? Did you have much burning from radiation?
I did have a burn. I mean, I had a pretty good burn and peeling, but it wasn't to the level where like I needed the medical honey or I needed like kind of the extra care. I have one of the friends that, she definitely burned bad with it. And mine was obnoxious, but it was typical. Right. So that was good.
Yeah. So after radiation, what was the next step? Did you do any infusions or anything after, like Herceptin or anything like that?
No, there's no sort of maintenance medication.
Okay.
For triple negative.
Okay.
So it was just, now we just hope for the best sort of thing.
Okay.
So the next step was I did first descents, actually. Did you ever do first descents?
No.
It's for young cancer survivors, and like they also have multiple sclerosis, but there's different programs. And so the friend with adrenal cancer had done this. She went rock climbing in Colorado with first descents.
Wow.
And so I did whitewater kayaking in Oregon. and got to meet up with other survivors. And,
wow, that is so cool. I love that. I didn't know that there was such a thing. Like, that's amazing.
Is this where your like Instagram kind of was born?
so
The adventure portion?
to some extent.
Yeah.
So I had thought about starting a travel blog
Mm-hmm.
for a couple years before, but it's very competitive, and I'm like, what's going to be your niche,
Mm-hmm.
your
Yeah.
niche, whatever.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when I was diagnosed, like, I was on Facebook. I wasn't really on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and so joined some Facebook groups, and that was a difficult
Mm-hmm.
space to be. Hadn't really met anybody until well after treatment, and then decided, like, this is your niche, like, combining cancer and travel, because those
Yeah.
Facebook groups were so dark.
Mm-hmm.
That some people were really struggling with depression in that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and trying to not also allow myself to be brought down with that.
Mhm.
Definitely.
So it was like, what can we do to help inspire other survivors, for some of these women, that, there is still life and joy and adventure to be had after the trauma of cancer.
Yes.
And so that kind of then started the blog and the Instagram of, okay, now it's time to get back into it. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so now you have, like, find opportunities, find your people,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of get back to life.
Yes.
That's awesome. And you went on that trip directly from radiation?
Pretty much. So I
Really?
finished radiation. Yeah, that was difficult, I will say, because I finished radiation mid-May, and that trip was the end of July.
Okay.
But, like, having the weight limits from surgery, and then you're going into whitewater kayaking, and it was like, you know what? We did not really build any muscle in between now
Yeah.
and then. And, like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I remember
Yes.
being on the river and telling one of the guides, like, because he was like, come on, keep up. And I'm like, you know what? I am out here floating on a river, loving life. I just kind of want to float. And he was like, you can float and rest later. Right now, you can
I thought you were going to say, he was like, okay,
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
No, he was like, right now you got to get to it. You do that. Like, you're only here for a week.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
That's cute. Come on.
yeah. I liked him, so I forgave him. But it's like, no, really, I'm tired.
And that's cool, because
Oh,
sometimes we
that's
need that in life,
Yes.
like this, right? Like,
Yeah.
because, like,
Yeah.
that's what we expected, but that's not what we got, but in the best way.
Mhm.
So, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
a little pep talk.
But I
Yeah.
love that you were able to push yourself to do something that you
Mhm.
probably weren't, like, initially prepared to do, but you were like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't until I got there that it was like, maybe we are not physically ready for this adventure, but
Yes.
you're here.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
clearly survived, so
Right.
we're happy about that.
I flipped upside down a lot, though.
Oh.
I was really good at that. I was not good at actually
hilarious.
kayaking, but if you want
Yeah.
somebody to flip,
She's your girl, right?
I can, like,
funny.
barely flip on the lake out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not whitewater rafting.
Yeah,
It's,
oh
like, all
gosh.
this angry water and stuff. So
Yes.
I feel like you're still pretty good.
no, it flipped me, and then I was too lazy to, like, get out of the kayak, because then you got to, like, get back to land and
Oh, that's a
dump
whole
the water.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm too lazy. So I would just stay there and, like, tap on the bottom of the kayak, like the "Come Rescue Me" sign, and just hold my breath as long as I could, and then bail.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's awesome.
That is. So then you get back from this trip, and then do you have to face cancer stuff again?
Yeah. So I knew I wanted a revision surgery,
Okay.
or reconstruction, not revision.
Okay.
And the idea of breast implants kind of freaked me out. And
Okay.
I had seen enough on Instagram from other women who were saying, they were uncomfortable, or they weren't feeling well from them, or just the expanders and that struggle. And so I knew I did not want that.
Mm-hmm.
So found out about DIEP flap, and it was like, well, by golly, I have been working on that donation site for years. So let's put that to some good use. And went to Midwest Breast and loved those guys. And said, this is what I want. I want bilateral. And they said, well, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to leave one natural? And I'm like, I had triple negative. The risk of recurrence is high. I don't know if there's another tumor that's just kind of waiting in there, or some cells that are waiting in there. So for the peace of mind.
Right.
And DIEP flap can only be done once. And you already took my favorite boob. So you might as well just take the other one and redo them both.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that came up in November.
And I don't remember when it was, but this is where Beth and I got to meet at, which is awesome.
Mhm.
So we had connected through another local group to us, I believe, and we lived very close to each other. So we met up and had coffee and talked everything deep flap or whatever, because I had already been through it at that point.
Yes.
So
And you
Yeah.
were one of the first survivors that I actually met in person.
that's awesome.
There was one gal that I met during chemo because the nurse navigator connected us. She's like, you
Okay.
two are
Yeah.
similar age.
Oh,
But again, like wasn't
Yeah.
really into the Instagram realm as much
Right.
at this point. And so
Yeah.
then meeting you, and it was like, oh, there are more of me out there. Like,
Yes.
there are other
and
people. I
like,
can
think
connect
about
with.
that now and all the people we've connected with. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yes.
It's a sad reality, but a move,
Yeah.
and like we say this all the time, like just such an amazing bond though. All
It
of us
really
that we
is.
connect with. On
Yeah.
not the terms we wanted, but
Right.
you know,
And I wish
Yeah.
that I had known about that community and some of those resources earlier.
right.
Because again, along with figuring out
Mhm.
your medication, everything else, it's like you don't know these people are out there. You don't know how to find your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one thing also that nurse navigators in the medical community could help out with more, as far as here are more age appropriate groups that you might connect with. And
Right.
if you choose not to, so be it. But at
Right.
least just to
But the
give you those
option is
resources.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a door if you choose to open
Yes.
it. The same nurse navigator, because I had originally started my treatment there because that's where I was diagnosed, had connected me with two individuals specifically, and they were wonderful people, but much older than me. Their kids were grown, and you know, so it was like I could ask them anything, but we were in much different stages of life, so it was hard to connect, you know, at that point. And eventually I went to a different place to get treatment, so we couldn't connect on those things either. But it was, you know, a good thought, and, you know, I'm glad because they are still my friends, but I do believe that there's so much more they could offer
Yeah.
as a nurse navigator there with resources. And I feel like there's just so much, like, untouched. So I'm grateful that hopefully this can connect somebody with you that resonates with their story, even if it's triple negative. And just kind of open the door, because I know, and when I talk about this a lot, but making that first call or text or whatever it is, it's like, how do you cold call somebody just because you know they have cancer? You know, that's difficult.
I've definitely done that several times, and it's just like somebody will say, well, my friend from work or my whoever has cancer, can you text them? Or if they send you a text, like, can you just, I'm like, I don't even know how to start the conversation, because I don't want to like be overwhelming, because I don't want to like scare them, but I also just want them to know like they're supported. And I think that that's hard to do when you're just not sure who you're speaking with.
Especially because some people, that is a road they want to take alone.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, like, they want to deal with it in their own,
Yeah.
and other people want the connection, and so just trying to, and I'm also a, give me a statistics, give me a, you know, tell it to me straight.
Yes.
And some people don't want that.
Right.
And so, obviously both are fine, but just trying to figure out, you know, whether they want you to connect or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding, I think that would be my biggest thing is I'm like, okay, well, so-and-so got diagnosed. I know about it because of their sibling, but they're not sharing about it. But I'm like, you need community. Whether it's one person or whatever, I'm like, you just need to connect with somebody. It doesn't have to be me, but just have a person, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I would be that if you would allow that, but it doesn't always have to be. So I'm like, sometimes I overshare and I, like, want so much that I'm like,
that's who you are. I love that.
not everybody does, but that's okay.
I love it. It makes me feel more normal when I do the same thing.
That's how you're my people. That's why we're here, you know?
Exactly.
But, you know, just understanding that, like, it looks different for everybody, and that's okay.
Yes.
You know? And that's what I've really come to realize, so.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got to connect over deep flap, because I don't feel like that was, like, I don't feel like there was a lot out there about it.
There really wasn't. Because I know I followed the blog Deep Sea Journey, and that's all deep flap, but that was really all I could find. And so it was like, okay, but your experience is different than mine, and so just some of the resources and everything, it's very different.
Yeah, very much. So how many revisions have you had from your original deep flap?
So I had original and then 2 revisions.
Okay.
So not too bad.
Okay. No, that's really not. I feel like that's like right along with like the process.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that they tell you. You will want a revision, at least this one, for what they call the dog years.
Yes.
Can't we come up with a better name? So there's that, and then just kind of like for symmetry probably is another common.
Yeah. So are you still, like, so now today, it's been how long since you had this surgery?
That would have been November 12th also of 2019.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and you've had 2 revisions since.
Mhm.
Are you still happy with the decision you made for your reconstruction? Would you, like, say that I made the right decision for myself?
I would. And it's funny you ask me that, because here recently I've had more thoughts as like, you know, now you're this many years out, knock on wood, we haven't had any sort of recurrence or any sort of scares. And so how do you feel about getting rid of one of the one natural breast that turns out was okay? The pathology report came back clear. And so there's a time here recently that I've been grieving that, but at the same time, overall, I'm still happy with the decision.
Good.
For peace of mind and everything else.
Yeah.
And my surgeons were fantastic. My mom hates when I say it, but I tell everyone it turned out well, and my tits are the tits. So
you are allowed to say that.
You are definitely allowed to say that.
So yeah, it's bittersweet looking in the mirror that
Definitely.
it's like it is what it is, and the scars everywhere. But
Mm-hmm.
on the boats, working in Alaska, I was always cold, and whether I felt it or not, I always had to wear like an overshirt so I didn't show. And it's like now I'm not showing anything. The nipples were gone.
Yes.
Like they turned out well, and so just all things considered.
Did you ever
Great.
did you ever do areola tattoos?
I did not.
Okay.
You're
You're one of many that I have met since that did not. And now I truly understand. I was like, there really isn't a need for them. Like,
it sounds awful. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
You know, if you choose to or not.
Yeah.
My mom was convinced that I would want like, you know, some sort of nipple afterwards.
yeah.
And I said, if I wake up and they have puckered that skin up to try and create a nipple,
Lord.
you are sending me back in that OR and you're taking care of it. And so she was like, but don't you want like tattoos? And it's like, there is a highway of scars across my torso. It is obvious there has been some sort of like scene of a wreck here. And I feel like for me personally, putting on nipple tattoos would be like putting lipstick on a pig. Like, it's just, they're messed up.
Yeah.
I get it.
So-
I do.
I didn't do the tattoos either, and it was just a personal decision. I just didn't really feel the need.
Yeah.
I had a few people say to me, what happens if your daughter or your son happen to see you without a shirt on? Don't you want it to just seem normal? And I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Right.
But they don't even know the difference. They've seen me with nothing on, even sadly, even recently. And it never even has come up in conversation. They're never like, what's going on with your chest? Why does your chest look different than mine?
Yeah.
It's never even fazed them. And obviously I won't be continuing to do that as I get older. But for me, it's like, I'm actually really proud of the way it looks. I feel like that is just my battle scar and I won, right? So like, that's my reminder every day.
Right.
And I actually have just grown to appreciate it as is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if I had like the anchor scars, then I would feel different because the tattoos would like cover up more and it would look more natural. But with mine being the flap, you know, looking kind of football shaped, then it's just, it is what it is, and I'm fine with them as they are.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Good.
And I will say, I did get the tattoos. They do fade, whether you go to, I had medical grade ink because it was done at my hospital. Where I went to. But also, Brittany, who we talked to on the previous episode, went to a place that did microblading and areola restoration tattoos. So it was not the medical grade. And hers faded as well. So
Interesting.
yeah. So
I wish I had known about microblading before chemo.
Yes.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And that I struggled. Being bald, fine. Because I can just make it look like I'm going for my high school emo look. And and that's cool. But the eyelashes and the eyebrows bothered me.
I feel like that's when I was like,
that
you're
was
a
me.
cancer patient at that point, you know?
Yeah.
You can't draw on an eyebrow if there's not even an eyebrow hair to start with, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like,
So, you know how when you go in for your mastectomy and they're like, you can't wear makeup, you don't have to, like, don't put anything on?
Mm-hmm.
I drew on my eyebrows that day. And the first thing I said when I woke up in the recovery, I was like, do I still have eyebrows? Like, I asked the nurse, I was like, are they still there? Because to me, that's not me. Without the shape, I mean, that just shapes your face automatically. I already don't have hair. My eyelashes are starting to fall out. I just want to have some form of eyebrow on my face.
Yeah.
She laughed at me. She was like, are you serious? I'm like, yes.
yeah.
I did, like, I drew those on. I was proud of it, too.
And it's amazing, like, what you need, that normalcy that you want to cling on to. That it's like, they're just eyebrows, but they're eyebrows.
Yes.
And it's not even in a sense of being vain.
Right.
It's just, like you said, like that normalcy.
Yes.
You know?
And it's for yourself. Like, when you look in the mirror, is that, like, that made me more comfortable with myself and the state that I was in. I wanted that look. When someone else looks at me, I want them to see the same thing I want them to see, you know?
Yeah.
So that was important to me, but that's funny you say that. So, and my eyebrows did not grow back like I thought they would. So I did end up getting microblading done.
Okay.
And I'm very happy with having that. I think that just for me is what makes me happy and comfortable.
Yes.
And I definitely think if that's something that you think you need, then and that's going to make you feel more confident, then definitely do it.
Oh, yeah.
Like anything to make yourself feel more confident and
Yeah.
be more of who you are, then that's what you should do.
I think along those lines, one of the best decisions I made during treatment was I got a henna crown tattoo.
Oh, that's so fun.
Wow.
It was amazing. So I finished chemo March 20th. And so we went out for St. Patrick's Day. I was like, I'm actually feeling all right. Like, I want to go out.
Yeah.
And, you know, don't have eyebrows, don't have eyelashes, but I want this crown tattoo. And had never gotten a henna tattoo before. Had like the whole thing done. I had a trip planned to Thailand. I had the visa in my passport. I was going to go to an elephant sanctuary for a couple weeks and then travel around, and was diagnosed a month before. So I had to cancel the whole trip.
Wow.
And so when I went for this henna tattoo, I said, I want an elephant. Like, you know, the elephant that I did not get because of treatment. So I had this whole tattoo done. And so we, for St. Patrick's Day, we went to this, it had like kind of like a biker bar feel. It was a pizza place, but had kind of that more rough feel to it. And it was funny because the women didn't want to say anything because they could tell from me like not having eyebrows and eyelashes that I'm in cancer treatment. I'm probably not doing so great. But all the men were like, I like your tattoo. And it was the best. And I was like, I don't need a hat right now because I'm so excited about my henna tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so happy you did that. That's
So
great.
that bit of confidence that we were talking about.
Yes.
That was the best thing I did.
Yeah. Now, have you made it to Thailand since?
No.
No?
I almost went, when I had my 5-year cancerversary, I was like, I need a big trip.
Yeah.
And so I was debating about Thailand, but instead I chose going to Canada for the Northern Lights.
Okay.
Because ironically, working in Alaska for 8 years, I had never seen the Northern Lights.
Oh my gosh.
And so then it was like, you know, my nemesis, that it was like you would
Yes.
see them on all these nature shows and always hear about them, and it was like, yeah, I'm up there, haven't seen them.
I've just heard a lot of good things as far as healing goes when it comes to Thailand, that there's a lot of like spiritual connection in that country, and I was just curious if you had made it there.
Well, now I need to look that part up.
I know. I've heard a lot about it, just from, you know, people that you follow or whatever, but that's definitely on my bucket list someday.
Yes.
We'll see, but I feel like just that country, I don't know, just something special about that. So
yeah, I've been to Cambodia and I loved it. So I'm like, I want to do a bigger trip, you know, get to Thailand. There are places in Cambodia I didn't get to, and Vietnam as well. I hear good things about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. We have to keep us posted.
Yes.
So one of the things that we want to ask all of our guests that come on this show is, what is something that you would recommend to somebody who is currently facing breast cancer? Whether that be something related to mental health, a product you used, anything to give them a little piece of advice.
So 2 things I already mentioned real quick. 1, the henna tattoo.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
2 was, that we already discussed, was kind of find your people.
Yes.
And reach out about that. But I would say one thing that really helped me was it's a shirt actually that's meant for surgeries.
Oh, yeah.
That's called the Heal and Comfort shirt or the
Okay.
recovery shirt. And I wish I had that from the beginning. I got it from my reconstructive surgery.
Okay.
But it's thin. It has Velcro up the front, so it's super easy to put on and off.
Okay.
It has large pockets on the side for the drain bulbs.
Yes.
And I lived in that thing after
Okay.
reconstruction for
Yeah.
like 2 weeks. But so it would have been good to have for my mastectomy, but I still wear it now because, you know, in all of those appointments, you go in, you put on those paper gowns and you feel so uncomfortable and vulnerable. And now I go in wearing that and an open, a bra that opens in the front.
Okay.
And so I don't have to change into one of those paper gowns. And
Oh,
so
good.
there's just a level of confidence.
Of
there
course.
And feeling more in control.
Yes.
And so when I was first looking about buying it, I was like, do I need to spend this money? Like it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But I've gotten so much use out of that thing.
That's great.
It's my
I love
favorite
that you
thing.
still use it, because I never
Yeah.
would have thought of that.
I would
aspect
not have
of
thought
it.
of that.
Every time I go, my oncologist is like, this is the best shirt ever. I'm like, I know, right?
And also,
That's
you know how like
amazing.
people joke and talk about before, like when you go to certain doctors' appointments, you're like, oh gosh, you gotta fold my bra up super nice
Yes.
and all those
No.
things. That's
No.
when you don't have to worry about.
Yeah,
it.
you don't have to worry about that.
I literally
Gosh.
just like busted open. It's like, all right.
I know,
Check
modesty out the window
Right.
at some point, because
Yeah.
you're like, all right, this is what we got here.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because I can wait to undo the shirt until
Yeah.
he's ready to go. I'm not sitting there in the paper gown trying to like hold
Oh
it
my
together the
gosh,
whole time. And then as soon as he's done, then just
Mhm.
Yeah,
Put it back
that's so
together
smart.
again.
I honestly never thought of that. That's
It's-
great.
my favorite thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. And I think that's definitely useful for somebody who's about to embark on that situation.
Yes.
So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have to like link some stuff
Yeah.
and
Oh, yes.
share those things.
And a photo of your henna tattoo.
Yes,
Because
we got
that
a.
is-
Do you have a
yeah.
photo?
I do.
Oh,
They're
I'd love
not
to
good
see it.
photos, but yes, you can.
Well,
you
even
can
just a
find
tattoo,
it.
we'd love to see what you're talking about. I think that's amazing and so
Yeah.
enlightening on, you know, something that made you confident during that time.
Yes.
So.
And it was also fun for her because she had never done a crown tattoo. And so
Yeah.
she was really nervous when she got started. And then you could tell she was getting more and more into it and getting more detailed
That's
as she went
awesome.
along.
Aw.
So it was like a 2-hour thing, but it was
That's so cool.
the best. Yeah.
That is so great.
Awesome.
Well, we are so thankful that you were able to sit down with us today and discuss your, you know, breast cancer journey. I think it's so unique. Every person has a different outlook and, you know, maybe a different struggle throughout their process, but we hope that your journey will connect with somebody that is following along. And we just, you know, we don't take this for granted because we know going back in time can sometimes be difficult. But we hope that it's as healing for you as it has been for both of us throughout this process.
Yes.
Because I know that sometimes we don't want to revisit some of those struggling times of our lives, but as you do, I hope that you find the same healing that we have.
Absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having
Yes,
me.
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Well, thank you guys for watching. And if you guys have any questions, comments, please leave those below. We would be more than happy to connect you and get, you know, answers to your questions. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Ribbon podcast. Our mission is to empower and support those affected by breast cancer. If you feel led to donate and support our mission, you may do so by clicking the link in our bio.
Don't forget to follow and share our content to help spread awareness and support. Remember, we journey together and we heal together.